Vantor, who was injured and has made an almost complete recovery from a shunt at Misano. His car given over to René Rast instead, his co-driver in the Spa 24 Hours, and number 15, not Will Buller, but McLaren factory driver Kevin Est, the French driver Kevin Est, takes over number 15. The driver's being warned that the track may be slippery at Marshall's post 19, which is effectively the exit of Donna Maria. After the accident in the previous session, there's a bit of liquid that's been spilled and had to be soaked up, so drivers being warned about that. But this promises to be a very lively qualifying session indeed, and it will be underway in about 1 minute's time.
好啦，跟住落嚟咧，亦都係重頭戲啊！澳博澳門 GT 杯同埋國際汽聯 GT 世界盃呢一節排位，咁啊聽日佢都仲有一節排位，咁啊所以咧今日同聽日呢兩節排位咧就係佢哋禮拜日出賽嘅情況㗎啦。咁啊而家見到各車手已經係準備就緒，等大會嘅大門一開，咁就會出嚟開始去因為見到啲工作人員咧已經閃避晒。 咁啊！一陣間一打開大門一出，佢哋都要睇燈嘅，因為太多車啦。咁啊，佢哋一見到綠燈打開咧，咁佢哋就會出去嘅啦。咁啊，呢一個排位咧，可以話亦都係非常之重要嘅。雖然話有兩節加埋咧，先至係佢哋星期日嘅排位嘅情況。咁所以咧，就我唔因為嗰個規矩。 我哋都未揾到個資料，唔知有未，或者係我哋啱稍後再揾揾，係好似會唔會學 WTC 咁嘅形式啊？先係 rolling start 啊，第二個回合又排翻位啊，咁呢個仲未知道，咁啊所以咧我哋會揾同事來即刻跟進下呢個情況嘅，咁一陣間咧我哋就係有最新嘅資料咧，再同大家去分享，我哋會即刻去查㗎。 咁啊好啦，見到咧真大門打開，啲車咧逐架已經咧按住頭先排隊嘅情況出車。咁啊當然啦，呢個時間咧一定要磨胎。嗱呢個時間咧比較係會天氣稍為應該會熱啲嘅，個地下咧就好正啊！如果佢哋而家開始磨胎係去做時間嘅話咧，應該就會好正㗎啦。好，睇翻我哋嘅另外一位同事睇有咩先？阿 Brad。
Na pista, os carros da Macau GT Cup, FIA GT World Cup, uma estreia em Macau, este troféu da FIA para marcas e pilotos. Equipas de ponta, carros extremamente competitivos, pilotos experientes e alguns com imensa tradição em Macau, como é o caso do Eduardo Mortara, que é piloto italiano. Já ganhou por 3 vezes esta corrida em Macau, nos carros de GT, turismo GT. Também o piloto que ganhou o ano passado é este que vemos na imagem, o Mercedes branco, para quem está perto dos ecrãs gigantes, o Mercedes branco com o número 1, Maru Engel, tinha quase a vitória assegurada em 2013, mas um furo na penúltima volta fez-o perder essa possibilidade. O ano passado ganhou e este ano até agora tem mostrado ser, na verdade, um dos mais rápidos ou o mais rápido dos pilotos presentes. Adversários não faltam à equipa Mercedes SLS AMG, desde logo os Audi R8 LMS, os Bentley Continental, os Aston Martin Vantage GT3, nomeadamente o de Stefan Luca, e também os McLaren 650 SGT3, a equipa que traz aqui Álvaro Parente e André Couto. Esta é uma prova de qualificação para a corrida de classificação de sábado e depois essa corrida é que ditará a grelha da corrida de domingo e é nessa que as marcas pontuam para a taça FIA World Cup. Hoje em treinos de classificação, da última vez que estes carros estiveram em pista, foi o Aston Martin Vantage de Stefan Luca, que marcou pontos ao conseguir o primeiro lugar já perto do final, na volta número 9, e sobrepondo-se aos Mercedes de Van der Zandt e de Mauro Engel, e ao Bentley de Adderley Fong. Veremos o que agora em sets de qualificação nos traz esta sessão.
Stefan Mucker means business. He was quickest in the second free practice session, and he's the first one over the line onto a flying lap. The Aston Martin howling its way past the pits. It's down at Lisboa at the moment then. Stefan Mucker having done the best of anybody briefly in the first sector, but Renger van der Zande in the Mercedes, number 2, the black Mercedes, going even faster. So Stefan Mucker, I think, will offer up a gun time. That will be the target, but then everybody else behind, well, let's see how they all slot into the order. Well, what Mucker has done here is give himself completely clear track space, and he's trying to do this time before A, he encounters traffic, but also before anybody else can think about what they're up to, and try and get himself pretty high, not only in the classification but crucially the grid for the first race. So he works his way then now past Teddy Yip's house up towards the Solitude S's. He will go in a moment. Mauro Engel, Renger van der Zande, the others that you need to keep an eye to in this session given the times they were doing in free practice. You've got René Rast and Kevin Est, both rookies to the circuit, who've been making progress as the day has gone on, as they're now down towards the run to police comes Stefan Mucker. Hard on the brakes, turns into this very narrow section of the circuit and then powers uphill towards Moorish. Earl Bamber, though, in the Porsche, better than anybody thus far in Sector 1. I know it's early days yet, but it proves that all of the star drivers are going for it straight away. As now on the run through Donna Maria comes Stefan Mucker on the exit of the corner. It's a little bit slippery after the incident we had in the Macau Touring Car Cup qualifying session. Now down to the Melco hairpin goes the Aston Martin, and Mucker with barely a car around him. In his mirrors now, though, he is starting to get Renger van der Zande, who is pushing on in the Mercedes. Then you've got Mauro Engel next on the track, so it is going to be Stefan Mucker to do the first flying lap. But actually, van der Zande, even though Mucker looked quick, the Mercedes is getting closer to the Aston Martin up the road. So in a moment, coming out of the R bend will be Mucker. He'll set the target, but I think then you'll find van der Zande and also Earl Bamber behind him going even faster. So Stefan Mucker, not exactly slow, factory driver for Aston Martin, comes up towards the timing line. He goes through now to break the timing beam, and the first lap time is 2:23.9. Van der Zande quicker, 2:20.268. Absolutely amazing the way that he's been catching him on that lap. And Earl Bamber could go even quicker because the Porsche has done, no, only goes fourth in fact. It had done an absolute best in the middle sector, but it's van der Zande then, Mucker, Engel third, Bamber fourth, but Renger van der Zande charging along, catching Mucker on that lap, and a mighty impressive effort has been offered up as van der Zande is quickest, and Kevin Est goes second in the McLaren. René Rast goes second in the Audi. Each car over the line shuffles the order at the end of their first flying lap, other than the top time. Van der Zande it is ahead of Rast, then Kuto, then Est, then Mucker, then sixth is Kaitasawa. This is going to be a really good qualifying session.
Thank you， 好啦，現時嚟講啦，我哋見到咧2號車雲迪生鬥，哇，非常之快啊！咁第二圈已經做出啦2分20秒268，暫時喺呢個頭車嘅位置。排位賽賽事嚟㗎，咁大家咧都好認真去對待啦。跟住咧，我哋見到7號車嘅赫斯2分21秒751排第2位。GRUPO 咁啊喺呢一個5號車咁啊澳門嘅車手2分22秒407，暫時係進佔喺呢個第3位。咁第4位咧係15號車嘅阿斯提，時間咧係2分23秒716。第5位97號車嘅穆克，時間2分23秒989。第6位啦，我哋見到83號車啊，咁啊88號車嘅澤圭泰，澤圭泰嘅車咧時間2分24秒075啊，排喺呢個第6嘅位置。跟住第7位咧就係10號車嘅拉科華斯，時間係2分25秒588。咁啊後面咧見到1號車嘅晏高，咁啊排喺呢一個第8位置，咁啊時間咧係2分25秒836啊。咁啊頭車嚟講咧，雲迪生特非常之快啊，咁啊晏高啊排第8，佢咧就排喺呢個第1位，咁啊大家係隊友嚟㗎。咁啊現時嚟講，雲迪生特2分20秒268喺第2圈暫時係做到最快嘅時間。咁啊跟住落嚟咧，仲有20幾分鐘嘅時間咧，俾佢哋咧係最好咧係可以盡量係做到啦係更好嘅時間出嚟俾大家見下嘅。好啦，咁啊我亦都睇睇啦，澳門嘅車手5號車嘅古圖咧，咁啊會唔會咧係做一個咧佢更好嘅時間咧，係俾大家見一見啦。David。
Van der Zande com o melhor tempo, 2:20.26, René Rast em Audi R8, 2:21.75 e o terceiro tempo é para André Couto. Acaba de descer para o quarto lugar porque Stefan Mucker, que tinha feito uma excelente volta no Aston Martin vantagem, voltou a repetir essa prestação e chegou ao segundo lugar, mas já desceu para terceiro porque Mauro Engel acaba de fazer 2:18.16, 2:18.74 para Van der Zande, 2:19:65 para Stefan Muka, Ederly Fong 2:20 e as classificações estão constantemente a mudar nesta prova de qualificação da Taça FIA GT.
We have Mauro Engel the quickest, but I think it's Mauro that's facing the wrong way, coming out of the kink on the run down to Mandarin. There's a battered Mercedes facing the wrong way, and I fear that Mauro Engel, having just gone fastest, has lost it. The car has got damage on the left rear corner. It is a white Mercedes. There are only two in the entry. One is black and it's Renger van der Zanders. The white one is Mauro Engels and it's facing the wrong way. So he's just gone quickest, but now he's brought out a yellow flag. Can Mauro Engel get going again? And indeed, if he can't, how far might he drop by the end of the session? Engel, van der Zander, Mortara, Rast, Muka, Parent, Est, Young, Fong and Kuto. The order at the moment, as you've got Stefan Muka having done the best of anybody in the first sector. But now, with the Mercedes still stuck on the road, Mauro Engel is going to have to hope that the time that he's just done will stand him in good enough stead to keep everybody else at bay, because we've still got 2/3 of the session to go, still 20 minutes and counting. René Rast is currently 4th fastest and making his way out of maternity downhill at the moment, heading towards the S's. But Mauro Engel's car is still on the road, on the run out of the kink. So he's, for the moment, going nowhere. As long as there's that yellow flag, though, other improvements are not coming, and a red flag is being shown. Session is being stopped. Red flag. The qualifying session stopped because we've got Mauro Engel, currently the fastest, in an awkward place on track at the kink for Mandarin.
跟住好啦，咁啊由於咧水塘灣咧係一個出彎嘅位置啊，咁有部車咧係調轉咗頭橫行喺呢個路面上面，咁所以咧賽會係亦都係出示咗咧今場嘅首支紅旗咧係出示啦，咁啊暫時停咗呢場賽事，餘下落嚟咧係仲有20分鐘嘅排位賽。喺呢個紅旗之前咧，以呢個1號車硬高啦，哇！頭先喺2個圈嗰陣時候咧就排喺第8位，而家咧嘣一聲去到第3個圈嗰陣時候咧已經係進佔翻上嚟第1位。咁而晏高喺第3個圈做出最快嘅時間2分18秒163咧，就排喺呢個頭車嘅位置。跟住咧2號車嘅雲迪辛特2分18秒746排喺第2，第3位啊，哇好犀利啊！頭先都係10位以外嘅6號車莫卡拿，咁啊進佔喺呢個第3個位置2分18秒999。跟住落嚟咧，見到7號車嘅赫斯排第4，2分19秒652。咁啊，暫時嚟講咧，前列幾部車咧都係啱啱算喺紅旗之前咧係可以完成咗3個圈，進入第4個圈之前咧，而家紅旗出現，咁啊暫時停咗呢場賽事。咁啊稍後嘅時間咧，一清理好個賽道咧，即刻係重開賽事，重開之後咧，再同大家講一講。
Sessão interrompida com o despiste de Mauro Engel, o piloto mais rápido logo depois de ter sido cronometrado em 2:18:163, despistou-se na curva à direita, chamada curva do Mandarim, e ficou virado ao contrário, não de cabeça para baixo, virado ao contrário, portanto no sentido contrário ao da pista, aquele em que se percorre a pista, que é no sentido dos ponteiros do relógio. Mauro Engel, o carro ficou estragado, não se vê muito bem daqui do qual a intensidade do toque e, portanto, quais os estragos que o carro tem. A verdade é que ele, depois de se imobilizar, não foi capaz de o tirar daquele local, e por isso a pista foi agora mostrada a todos os pilotos, a bandeira encarnada, e a pista vai ser desbloqueada, o carro vai ser retirado com outros meios, não pelos seus próprios meios, a razão pela qual a sessão de treino está interrompida. Mauro Engel era o primeiro, tinha acabado de ser cronometrado como o mais rápido, com 2:18:16, o seu colega de equipa Van der Zand, no Mercedes preto, número 2, 2:18:74, Eduardo Mortara, que já o ano passado foi o grande adversário dos Mercedes no Audi R8 LMS, 2:18:99, e depois já há uma diferença grande, René Rast no outro Audi a 2:19:65, Stefan Muck no Aston Martin 2:19:65 também, mas apenas 5 milésimos de segundo mais lento do que René Rast. Em sexto, o Álvaro Parente do primeiro McLaren 650S GT3 2:20:16, Kevin Estre no outro McLaren 2:20:30, Daryl O'Young Aston Martin 2:20:45, Ederly Fong Bentley Continental GT3 2:20:76, e a fechar o top 10 o piloto de Macau André Couto no outro McLaren com 2:20:87. Estavam decorridos 10 minutos de treinos qualificados. Esta sessão de treinos qualificados tem 30 minutos programados e, portanto, faltam mais 20. A sessão está interrompida até ser desbloqueada a pista do carro de Mark Engel. Mauro Engel tem o carro do Mauro Engel, está ainda na reta do Lisboa, perto da curva de Mandarim, e a pista ainda não está desbloqueada.
So Mauro Engel's car being retrieved, it needs a lift by the look of it. It is now being lifted onto the back of a flatbed, but interesting that Mauro Engel didn't drive it away, or couldn't drive it away, making you wonder what damage he's done to that left rear corner. Bodywork is missing, and he's having a look underneath it, but there may well be some suspension damage, at least, in that, which potentially means he may not be able to go back out in the remaining 20 minutes, which means he may not be able to hang on to pole position. So is the reigning winner of the Macau GT Cup starting to see his weekend unravel? We will have to wait and see as qualifying continues. Philip Marr, number 98, down in the pit lane, getting ready for the restart. We'll have a time for the restart shortly, I'm sure, but Mauro Engel, before he's off, and he'd literally just done the time, is the fastest. 2 minutes 18.168 from Renger van der Zande, 2 minutes 18.746. The two Mercedes then, for now, top the times ahead of the Audis. Eduardo Mortara is third, and René Rast is currently fourth, as the spectacular McLaren there in the pit lane of Mok Weng Sun gets ready for the restart as well, number 3, with its foil coating almost, the distinctive reflective silver McLaren, and at the moment that car is 18th out of the 22 that we have. Another spectacular car is John Sen's Porsche, run by Modena Motorsports. You think it should be running Ferraris, but it runs this Porsche that draws attention to itself, and although the Canadian is one of the amateur drivers in the entry, he's very competitive. Thumbs up, ready to go, and we'll await a start time. But there's the good news, Mauro Engel's car now is on the flatbed. It is on its way back towards the paddock, and the session will be resumed at 15:13 to be confirmed. So we're looking at about 3 minutes time before the session gets underway. 3 minutes before we can get things underway is the message we have from the race director.
係啦，冇錯啦，咁啊仲有咧係約莫係3分鐘啊 ，sorry 啊，3分鐘左右嘅時間咧，將會係賽事重開啊。咁啊而家咧工作人員已經係清理好咧就1號車眼高呢一部車啦。咁啊亦都係咧移離咗呢個賽道。咁啊地面嘅清潔工作啦，咁啊而家咧係現場嘅工作人員咧係繼續進行嘅。咁一搞掂咗之後咧係約莫都唔夠啊，3分鐘時間都唔夠咧，就會係將會係賽事重開。咁啊今場咧係屬於澳博澳門 GT 杯國際汽聯。
Prestes a recomeçar esta sessão de treinos de qualificação, faltam poucos segundos, os carros estão alinhados, vão sair agora mesmo das suas boxes e estão eles a regressar à pista que já foi limpa do carro de Mauro Engel, o piloto mais rápido, Mercedes SLS AMG número 1, removido do local onde ficou imobilizado depois de se despistar na curva, a chamada curva do Hotel Mandarim, e exatamente poucos metros depois ter sido cronometrado como o mais rápido em pista, 2:18:16. Este é o tempo a bater agora e ele não está em pista para se defender. Poderá desde logo ser ultrapassado pelo seu colega de equipa Van der Zande, que está apenas a 57 centésimos de segundo, e até pelo adversário dos dois Mercedes, o tradicional adversário aqui em Macau, Eduardo Mortara, no Audi R8 LMS, que está apenas a 83 centésimos de segundo. Vamos ver o que é que estes 20 minutos que faltam nos trazem de mudanças na frente e também entre os favoritos. Esperemos que Earl Bamber, por exemplo, que está apenas até agora pelo 12º tempo, consiga levar o Porsche 997 a um lugar mais de acordo com as prestações do piloto e as qualidades do carro. Isso é o que vamos ver então nestes 20 minutos que vão recomeçar. Os carros voltaram ao alcatrão da guia.
Pedro, thanks. We're back in business then, and we've got 19 minutes on the clock for the continuation of this qualifying session for the SJM Macau GT Cup, the FIA GT World Cup, with Mauro Engel then not being able to continue in the session after the Mercedes had it off. Whether the damage was the cause or the result, we don't yet know, but either way the car is for the moment grounded in the pit lane. So what can the opposition do here? They've got a perfect chance to make hay while Mauro Engel is stuck in the pit lane and may not of course be able to go back out. It depends how great the damage is, how long it might take to fix as the cars queue up heading up Moorish Hill towards the right hander then. Renger van der Zande only half a second back from Engel, one to watch. Edo Mortara 8/10ths back, and then you've got René Rast, who's certainly come on a pace after learning the circuit in those 2 practice sessions. He will be on his toes. You've got Stefan Mucker, who is certainly committed to the task. He was first out, remember, at the very start of the session. He was also fastest in the second practice period we had earlier on in the day. So Mucker another experienced driver, of course, because after years of racing sports cars, after years of racing in the DTM, I think has also been here in his Formula 3 days, but certainly he's raced GT cars here. He's going to be one to watch. You've got Alvaro Parent also as a driver that could, for McLaren, snatch pole position. So, as we've been making the point over the weekend, although there might not be as many cars as last year, the quality of driver, absolutely exceptional. Alvaro Parent, another driver, as I say, that's been here in Formula 3. And then Kevin Est, 7th fastest, one of the rookies, still adapting to the circuit, but adapting quickly. So the session live again, and we'll see come the end of the next lap, not this, the out lap, but the next lap, what the times are going to be. But the Audis looking particularly fleet as they come across the line, with Eduardo Mortara ahead of René Rast, and behind Renger van der Zande is number 30, Marchi Lee. So actually they might be doing something quite good and tactical here by boxing van der Zande in, preventing the Mercedes from getting too much clear track space. He doesn't want to be stuck on the back of René Rast, but he doesn't want to let the other Audi go and risk catching up to that. So van der Zande's track position relative to all the Audis around him is not exactly ideal. So onto the first flying lap since the restart. Mortara almost looking like he's holding up Rast actually, because the gap between them comes down as they head towards San Francisco through the right-hander, climbing uphill now, but Rast with a little jink left and right, suggesting he's still getting warmth into the rubber in the WRT car, chasing the Phoenix Audi just up the road there in the hands of Eduardo Mortara. It is game on then to see whether anybody can go quicker than Maro Engel. They've got 16.5 minutes in which to do it.
Thank you。好啦，現時嚟講咧，我哋見到咧就賽事重開之後咧，咁啊所有嘅車輛咧就乒乒乓乓咧就向前走啦。咁啊嗱臨啦，希望咧係利用啦僅餘嘅10幾分鐘嘅時間咧，係創造一個比較理想嘅時間。咁啊希望咧可以喺呢個排位嗰方面咧係爭取一個好啲嘅位置。咁啊因為咧聽日咧呢個排位賽事咧決定咗佢哋聽日喺有12個圈嘅選拔賽嗰個正式嘅排位嘅。咁啊所以咧現時嚟講咧，所有嘅車輛咧都努力爭取一個好啲嘅成績。咁啊現時咧就我哋見到啦，當然大家都知道啦，晏高就已經係退下火線啦。咁啊2分18秒163呢個時間嚟講咧，係會唔會係有車咧係可以咧係過到佢頭咧，或者係咧甚至乎係超越多少少嘅時間咧？因為咧排喺而家呢一個排位賽第2位嘅雲迪辛特啦，係2分18秒746喺呢一個第2個位置，咁啊同頭車相差0.578秒，跟住排第3位6號車嘅莫塔拿2分18秒939，同頭車相差0.831秒。跟住見到7號車嘅克斯排第4位，時間2分19秒652，同頭車相差1.484秒。咁我相信呢，喺而家淨係講呢3部車，包括咗2號車雲迪辛特、6號車嘅莫塔拿同埋7號車嘅克斯咧，都已經係直接係有機會咧係可以咧威脅到前車呢個顏高做出嚟嘅2分18秒163。咁跟住落嚟嘅時間咧非常之緊湊，希望咧剩翻落嚟嘅15分鐘咧係有一個好嘅時間係同大家見面。咁排第5位咧，我哋見到97號車嘅穆克2分19秒657，同莫塔拿咧係相差咧係超過係1秒半有多嘅時間，咁所以現時嚟講咧，喺後面呢一紮車咧，亦都係虎視眈眈，希望咧係可以咧係盡量係上到嚟一個較前列嘅位置，為聽日呢個選拔賽咧係爭取更有利嘅位置嘅。PRÉMIO。
A decorrer mais uma volta ao circuito da guia para a obtenção dos melhores tempos. A volta anterior foi dramática para alguns dos pilotos da frente, já que encontraram um imenso tráfego lá na parte mais estreita da pista. Os pilotos começaram então a ganhar algumas distâncias para poderem ter alguma margem de segurança para fazerem uma volta o mais limpo possível. Nas imagens, para quem está junto aos ecrãs grandes, os dois Audis R8 LMS, uma curiosidade, o de Mortara e o de René Rast, o 6 e o 7, têm a pintura invertida, onde um é encarnado, o outro é branco e vice-versa. O número 6 é o de Mortara, o número 7 é o de René Rast. Eles têm até agora o terceiro e quarto tempos. Esta sim é uma volta lançada para a obtenção do tempo de qualificação. À frente deles está Van der Zande no Mercedes e Maro Engel também em Mercedes, que tem o primeiro tempo, mas já não pode defender a sua posição, já que está fora de pista depois de ter tido um acidente que levou à interrupção desta sessão de treinos de qualificação. Em quinto lugar, Stefan Luca no Aston Martin vantagem, Álvaro Parente é o sexto no primeiro McLaren, Kevin Estra é o sétimo no segundo McLaren, depois Daryl O'Young é o oitavo, no Aston Martin, e o segundo Mercedes, o de Van der Zandt, fora dos treinos de qualificação. Van der Zandt também sofrer um despiste, e os dois Mercedes AMG e SLS estão fora dos treinos de qualificação, apesar de terem os dois melhores tempos.
Van der Zandt is in the wall as well. Both Mercedes have bitten the dust in this qualifying session. Renger van der Zandt is in the barriers, and is that going to be another stoppage, because the car has certainly got damaged, the yellow flags are waving, and Renger van der Zandt then in the barriers on the mountain section of the circuit. So Eduardo Mortara just goes second, and a red flag is shown. The session is stopped for the second time with van der Zandt off in the barriers. The session is stopped for the second time of asking. He's trying to work out exactly where it is he's come to grief, but I think it's on the run down towards police. So there is van der Zandt's car up against the barrier, and you can see, even though it's gone in on the right hand side, there's damage on the left as well, with a punctured tyre, with the wing battered. So here comes the replay, and did he get contacted by another car? Because there's, look, a punctured tyre already, unless the puncture was independent of any contact, and that's what forced him out wide. But bits of Mercedes stuck in the barrier, and no surprise, the session is stopped. That car needs retrieval. So van der Zandt is now fourth, but looking at quite a big repair job before the qualification race tomorrow. Session stopped. Engel, Rast now second. Mortara, van der Zandt the top four. But that Mercedes will not be back out, I don't think, in the remainder of the session, which is only 12.5 minutes to go. Johnny.
咁我哋見到咧就係雲迪辛特咧就應該係喺呢一個松山上路啱啱算係落呢個碧瑤灣之前嘅位置啊。咁啊，我哋見到咧就係咧係佢應該係哼咗一架車之後咧，自己夾咗埋，即係俾人逼咗埋去啦。佢自己右手邊嘅圍欄嗰邊啊。咁啊，所以咧架車咧就停低咗喺一個彎位嗰度。咁啊，賽會咧亦都係出示咧同場今場賽事嘅第二支紅旗啦。咁啊，剩翻落嚟睇睇嘅時間咧，12分鐘啫。哦，1、2、2架呢一個平治咧都已經冚唪唥飛走晒啦，好似隻歐翼咁。出嚟壓下隻翼咧就飛走咗啦。咁啊1、2兩部車，晏高同埋呢一個2號嘅雲迪辛特啦，兩部車咧已經係雙暫時係退下火線。咁啊而家雲迪辛特咧喺佢啱啱算發生意外嗰一剎那咧，亦都係俾其他咧係兩部車咧已經係爬過頭㗎啦。咁因為咧我哋見到咧7號車係赫斯啦，2分18秒315係進佔喺第2個位置。咁啊第3位咧係6號車嘅莫塔拿，2分18秒336排第3。而呢一個2號車嘅雲迪辛特咧就係退落去第4位，2分18秒746。好啦，咁啊而家暫時賽事咧係出示紅旗，亦都係暫時停咗呢一場嘅排位賽。咁啊剩翻落嚟係12分鐘左右嘅時間。咁啊等賽會嘅安排咧係再同大家係公佈餘下落嚟咧係應該係點樣去完成埋呢一場嘅排位賽。
E antes da interrupção desta sessão de treinos de qualificação pelo despiste de Van der Zandt no segundo Mercedes, o número 2, os dois Mercedes, recordo, estão fora dos treinos. Primeiro foi o despiste de Mauro Engel na curva do Hotel Mandarim e agora na estrada de Cacilhas o despiste de Van der Zandt no Mercedes número 2. Os dois Mercedes, portanto, fora dos treinos de qualificação. Eles tinham o primeiro e o segundo tempos. Antes dessa interrupção, estivemos a ver a volta lançada dos dois Audis, o de René Rast e do Eduardo Mortara. Os dois Audis fizeram exatamente um tempo canhão e intrometeram-se entre os tempos dos dois Mercedes. O Engel continua a ter o melhor tempo, 2:18.16, mas agora está René Rast em Audi R8 com 2:18.31 e Eduardo Mortara em Audi R8 com 2:18.33. 21 milésimos de segundo separam os dois Audi R8. O quarto é Van der Zandt, mas também não vai poder defender a sua posição, já que está como Mauro Engel no outro Mercedes. Ambos estão fora dos treinos de qualificação. Quinto, Stefan Muca em Aston Martin. Sexto, Álvaro Parente em McLaren. Sétimo, Kevin Estre em McLaren. Oitavo, Daryl Young em Aston Martin. Nono, Ederly Fong em Bentley Continental. E o 10º, André Couto em McLaren 650S GT3. Neste momento faltam pouco mais de 12 minutos e meio para esta sessão de qualificação, mas ela está pela segunda vez interrompida porque pela segunda vez o Mercedes, neste caso naturalmente o segundo, já que a equipa só tem 2, provocou a interrupção da sessão depois de um acidente. O carro vai ser removido do sítio onde está e só depois poderá ser retomada esta sessão de qualificação.
So 2 Mercedes started the session, neither will finish it, both damaged. It's at Pyle where the incident has happened, and it looks as though Renger van der Zande may have hit one barrier and then bounced across and hit the one against which he ended the incident, because the car's got damage on both sides and there's barrier damage on the other side of the track as well. It needs to make sure the barrier is safe, it needs to get the car off the track before the session can resume. 12 and a half minutes just over are still to go. The order as it stands, Mauro Engel, before either red flag, had set the fastest time, 2 minutes 18.168. Second fastest is now René Rast. So it's all interesting, this. René, as he gets used to the circuit, getting quicker and quicker and quicker, with a bit of guidance, no doubt, from ace British race engineer Adam Hardy, who looks after him at WRT. 2 minutes 18.315 the time. Third, Eduardo Mortara, 2 minutes 18.336. And then fourth, the car being craned away at the moment, Renger van der Zande's Mercedes, 2:18.746. Fifth is Stefan Mucker, who's flattered to deceive a little bit in this session. Sixth is Alvaro Parent. Seventh is Kevin Est. So you've got the two McLarens there together. Eighth is Daryl O'Young, doing a very good job against exalted company. Ninth is Adderley Fong, and 10th is Andre Couto. Earl Bamber is only 12th, this year's Le Mans winner, or a third of the Le Mans winning team. He's only 12th behind Richard Lyons at the moment, so there's more to come from Earl Bamber, one would have thought, who had a rather sizable accident in the GT Cup race a couple of years back, you might remember. So the order by no means fixed, and it'll be interesting to see whether Mauro Engel can hang on to that top time. Surely the others are going to be able, if they get clear track space, to go quicker. René Rast needs to find .148 to go 1,000th quicker. So that's what he's looking for, but Eduardo Mortara will be on his toes as well. The top four covered by just over half a second. Stefan Mucker is a further 9/10ths back, so at the moment it's very much Mercedes versus Audi, but neither Mercedes fit to take part in the restart after the damage, as Vincent Voss, in the white shirt from WRT, former racer himself, leans over to have a word with René Rast, and there in the pit lane also ready to go on the restart is Mok Weng Sun's McLaren, the spectacular liveried car, which has now dropped to 19th, in fact. Dylan Dedala's Porsche having got ahead, and also Jeffrey Lee's Audi having got ahead. So as soon as we can, we'll be back underway. There is the second of the Mercedes being brought back to the pit lane, and the barrier, the catch fencing, which has taken a bit of a whack as well, being sorted out on the run down towards Pyle, the left-hander, where van der Zande came to rest. And as soon as the track is clear, then we'll get the indication of when we can restart the session. The race director, Oliver Grodowski, who was formerly the race director for the FIA GT1 World Championship, will communicate with the teams on the timing screen to let them know when it's expected to restart the session. But in the meantime, they sit and wait. They can relay info back to the engineers and get ready for the restart. 68 Porsche of John Shen is ready to go. That is a car that's dropped way down the order now. In fact, it's the slowest of the 22, but John, still a great enthusiast for his racing and looking to get back out on track. So very shortly, we'll be back in business with take 3 of the SJM Macau GT Cup, FIA GT World Cup qualifying. And this, remember, is dictating the grid for tomorrow's first race. So we still have marshals working on the circuit on the run down towards Pyle, and as soon as they are happy with the state of not just the barrier but also the debris fencing, the catch fencing behind it, then the indication can be given. The timing screen says session will be resumed at 15:35 TBC, so we're looking at about 5.5 minutes before we are back in business. 5 minutes or so before the session goes live once again. Remember that after this we have the second qualifying session for the SUNCITY Group Formula 3 Macau Grand Prix. Then the Chinese Racing Cup brigade will round out the day for a spectacular half an hour. So we've got Formula 3 and Chinese Racing Cup still to come to end day 2 of this 62nd Macau Grand Prix weekend. Tomorrow starts very early for the car brigade. Normally it's the bikes that kick off the day, but tomorrow at 7:30 we'll be qualifying for the gear race. So it's an early start. And of course tomorrow we will have 6 races in the mix as well. Some warm-up sessions, some qualifying races, and the qualifying session at the start of the day. But tomorrow is when we get into the really serious business of races. And the GT World Cup will have its qualification race. The grid still being formed based on what will be set in this session. Belgian racing car champion of this year, Dylan Derdala, with the Porsche. He gets ready to go. Dylan was in the barriers yesterday. The Thai driver, Vutikorn Inthrapuvasak, is the wheel of the Estacola racing team Porsche. Another very spectacular car, that, in terms of its livery. And he is ready to go. Inthrapuvasak ready to head back out onto the circuit. And it will be just over 12.5 minutes by the time the lights go green. If you're at the back of the queue, you're going to lose a fair bit of time having to go down the pit road and then, of course, complete the outlap. So for some, it's going to be about 9 minutes, really, of qualifying time left once we get the signal that we're good to go. So we're still looking at 15:35 on the clock. I think the barrier is good and the fencing is good. It's now just a case of the marshals sweeping any bits of debris off the road that might jeopardise anybody's tyres, and then we should be in business. It was always going to be a competitive qualifying session, but it's turned out to have more surprises than anticipated, and with 2 of the top drivers the main casualties. Both of the Mercedes factory cars entered by the AMG Driving Academy, both of the cars with damage, and in about 4 minutes time we should be able to get the cars back on track.
喺呢一個賽事啱啱説2次紅旗，第一次就為咗呢個1號車嘅顏高，咁啊第2次呢就係為2號車嘅雲迪新特，咁啊呢2位車手啦，2部車咧都雙係發生呢個意外，咁啊好啦，咁啊6期啦，咁啊現時嚟講咧，賽事係將會係即刻開始係重開，咁啊所有嘅車輛咧，哇排晒隊啦，等唔切啦，已經係一步跟一步啦，向呢一個東望洋賽道咧係進發。現時我哋見到咧，所有嘅剩翻落嚟嘅車輛咧，已經係咧係出現咧喺呢一個賽道上邊，咁啊經過呢個水塘灣位向呢個文華東方灣同埋葡京灣進發，咁啊前面咧我哋見到呢紮車咧，哇！大家都可以睇得好清楚啦，咁啊包括咗呢個莫卡拿啦，咁啊仲有咧赫斯啦，李英健啦，咁啊呢個歐陽啦，歐陽若曦啊，佢架車好容易認噶，咁仲有澳門嘅車手古圖啦，咁啊首先咧就見到莫卡拿佢哋嘅兩同赫斯2部車，咁啊向呢一個咧係加斯蘭進發啦，咁啊現時嚟講咧，所有嘅車輛啊出得嚟嘅都要出噶啦，因為咧現時個排位賽事剩翻落嚟嘅時間咧係12分鐘都唔夠嘅時間，12分鐘咧要盡量爭取一啲個好啲嘅成績，係向前咧希望係盡量攞啦係一個好啲嘅排位嘅位置，因為咧呢個今日嘅排位賽係決定聽日12個圈嘅選拔賽嘅正式排位嘅，咁啊暫時嚟講仍然係以入咗去呢個修理站裏邊嘅1號車顏高做出嚟係2分18秒153喺呢一個頭車嘅位置，跟住咧見到7號車嘅赫斯而家係在場嘅2分18秒315喺呢個第2位，莫卡拿而家都喺呢度嘅2分18秒336喺呢個第3個位置，第4位2號車入咗修理部噶啦，雲迪新特2分18秒746咧。進佔暫時係喺呢個第4個位置，咁但係剩翻落嚟咧10分鐘鬆少少嘅時間，隨時咧呢個位置咧係全部可以改寫晒。有冇辦法？有人係真係會快得過1號車顏高2分18秒153咧？咁啊稍後時間咧自有分曉啦。
E de novo na pista então os carros desta espetacular taça FIA GT World Cup, corrida Macau GT Cup, na sequência de mais uma interrupção pelo segundo despiste e de novo um Mercedes. Mais nenhum dos Mercedes está em pista, os dois se despistaram e ficaram fora dos treinos de qualificação para defenderem os seus tempos. Como dizem os ingleses ligados a estas coisas das corridas, para acabar primeiro é preciso primeiro acabar, e eles não vão acabar esta sessão de treinos qualificados de qualificação e portanto não vão provavelmente poder defender o seu primeiro lugar nestes treinos, já que os dois Audi se intrometeram entre os dois Mercedes, entre Engel e Van der Zandt, e agora que nenhum deles está cá para defender a sua posição, veremos se eles são capazes ou não de superar o tempo de Mauro Engel, já que estão apenas a 1 a 14 e o outro a 16 centésimos de segundo. Os dois Audis, o número 7 de René Rast e o número 6 de Eduardo Mortara.
So onto a flying lap we go. This is now the first proper run they get. 9.5 minutes to go, and hopefully with no further stoppages they can start to get into a proper rhythm here and put together quick laps. It's unusual, this race, of course, in that the majority of GT races are double driver endurance races. Even the Blancpain Sprint Series is 60 minutes but with pit stops and driver changes, but this weekend you're on your own, and the guys in the pit lane can do precious little to influence the results of the race. All the hard work has to be done really now to keep out of the barriers and to do a good time, to get a good grid position, and then try and keep everybody else at bay. Eduardo Mortara, he's currently third fastest as he heads up San Francisco Hill, heading on towards Maternity. He's got René Rast behind him on the track at the moment, and then you've got the third of the Audis of Marchi Lee riding shotgun. But out of Maternity, downhill, heading towards the Solitude S's now goes Eduardo Mortara. Who else looks as though they might be in a hurry? Well, we had, of course, both Engel and Van der Zande improving on the laps before they had their accidents. Kevin Est will be one to watch still. Richard Lyons still hasn't quite gelled in the Aston Martin, 11th fastest. But at the moment, apart from Vutikorn Infoprivasat, there aren't that many sector improvements coming. His Porsche has gone quicker in the first sector. The only other driver with the first sector improvement shown against his name is Van der Zande, but that was before he had the accident. As through Police and up Moorish Hill now goes Eduardo Mortara, and at the end of this lap, remember, we're going to start to see the improvements in the lap times come through, one hopes, although I think it might be another lap actually even after this, because still the car's just as evidenced there by René Rast needing to weave around a little to generate the warmth in the rubber. We'll see whether middle sector improvements come, but there aren't that many in the first sector. Keita Sawa has been one double winner of the Macau GT Cup, and Ito Pumasak has been the other, but not too many drivers being able as yet to find extra speed within sector 1. And all of this eating into the remaining time. We're down now to just 7.5 minutes, so they might get about 2 more flying laps at best.
Thank you。咁啊，現時嚟講咧，就係賽事重開啦。咁啊，進入去咧佢哋重開嘅第2個圈啦。因為大部分嘅車手話而家翻嚟咧，已經係 warm up 曬㗎啦。跟住落嚟咧就到時間啦。咁啊，而家見到咧頭車呢個7號車克斯啊，6號車個莫塔拿啊，咁啊仲有咧就係李英健啊，咁啊幾部車咧都已經3部車已經走咗出嚟啊。咁啊帶出嚟咧係希望可以咧。盡量利用前面，因為冇車干擾佢哋咧，係希望盡量係做一個咧係快啲嘅時間。咁啊，首先見到莫塔拿，跟住克斯，咁啊李英健，咁啊呢幾位車手咧都已經咧係啱啱算咧係經過我哋面前啦。咁啊分別咧就係呢個6號、7號同埋30號，咁啊呢啲揸車手，咁啊已經過咗之後咧，後面咧亦都係咧見到其他嘅車手咧一路係追翻上嚟啦。咁啊包括咗咧係25號車嘅帕蘭迪啦，咁啊仲有咧就係15號車阿斯提咁，哎呀係文華東方灣係又一步啦，古道。古圖呢架5號車咁啊喺一個文華東方灣直指埋欄，跟住撞喺去佢嘅左手邊，跟住再反彈翻去右手邊，紅旗再次出現 ，red flag。Red
flag again. Andre Couto has had a big off coming out of Mandarin, and the McLaren, I fear, is done for the weekend. A huge amount of damage. There are bits all over the road. The red flag's out almost instantly because session is stopped. On the screen you'll see what's left of the McLaren, but I'd be very surprised if that was able to go any further this weekend. Red flag then for the 3rd time. Here is a replay and he loses it. The back just glances the barrier, spins across the road, everything locked up, and then bang, front, bang, rear damage done to the car. It spins across the road, bits go everywhere, but a hard impact, and then does it go to the barrier again? Thankfully Andre Couto is able to steer it away, but the session is stopped. The session, by the look of it, is not going to resume because the cars are being waved back into their garages in the paddock, not the pit lane. So the cars are being waved back to the teams, not down the pit road. So it looks as though the session will not resume provisionally because they're going to the teams, not back into the pit lane. Dr. Paul Trafford is on the scene to go and make sure that Andre Couto is okay, but the session is stopped, and by the look of it is not to resume because the cars are going back to the teams in the paddock and not in the pit lane, but confirmation of that as soon as we get it. For now though, red flag.
Sessão interrompida de novo e mais um acidente exatamente no mesmo sítio em que Mauro Engel se despistou. Foi agora a vez de André Couto. André Couto, que pena, o piloto de Macau, ele que estava volta a volta a tentar perceber até onde podia ir com o McLaren 650S GT3 e não poderia ter ido tão longe, pelos vistos, já que perdeu em absoluto o controle do carro na curva do Mandarim. Ele bateu primeiro do lado esquerdo da pista, depois fez vários peões até atravessando-se. Aí está, é a repetição do acidente, atravessando-se e indo bater de frente do lado contrário, desfazendo toda a frente do carro. Este carro, em princípio, não tem qualquer hipótese de ser recuperado. Não tem qualquer hipótese de ser recuperado. Imobilizando-se junto ao raio do lado direito e ficando dentro do carro, porque não conseguia abrir a porta e sair. Ele agora já saiu com a ajuda do corpo médico e de uma ambulância. Ele já saiu, exatamente, aliás, dentro do carro via-se que ele se mexia, que estava a reagir. O acidente tem bastante violência, mas o habitáculo parecia completamente protegido e foi isso que aconteceu. Ele precisou apenas de ajuda para que a porta se abrisse e ele conseguisse sair do carro. Sessão interrompida, faltavam 6 minutos. André Couto tinha passado do 10º para o 9º lugar no seu McLaren 650S GT3. Ainda ontem ele nos dizia que esta era uma pista muito difícil para ele conhecer o carro. Era o primeiro contacto com o carro para perceber até onde ele podia ir, até onde essa intimidade que é necessária entre o piloto e o carro podia chegar e afinal chegou longe demais na curva do Mandarim e o André Couto está fora. A sessão está interrompida, provavelmente poderá já não retomar.
Confusion reigns to an extent because the session will be resumed. The cars that were being waved into the paddock and others have been waved into the pit lane. So the first wave of cars headed to the teams at the back of the pit lane, but everybody else has been marshalled down the pit lane itself, ready to go again. So there will be a resumption to the session, but for how long, we don't know, nor do we know the time. But the session will be resumed, time TBA. So there will be the remaining 6 and a bit minutes to be run as soon as the track is clear. And at the moment, Andre Couto is out of the car. We saw him walking away, so he's okay. Whether the McLaren can be made good for race 1 or even race 2 is a different kettle of fish altogether. But the session, the good news is, will be resumed. Although again, how much lappery they're going to get in remains to be seen, because you're going to lose at least 3 minutes with an out lap. They'll get, if you're out of the pits first, you'll get 2 flying laps. If you're at the back of the queue, you might just get 1. And that assumes nobody else has a mistake. It's been a really frustrating session for them with so many stoppages and nobody really being able to get into a rhythm. So keeping out of trouble. But interesting, isn't it, that the 3 red flags have all been triggered by 3 of the good drivers in the entry. That it's not the amateurs, and there are a handful of those that are making the mistakes or having the dramas. It's 3 of the real stars. And Andre Couto, a former winner of the Macau Grand Prix, knows exactly what he's doing around this circuit. But the McLaren got away from him, and now the liquid that it spilt needs soaking up, and the car itself will need removing as well. So it'll be a few minutes yet before we can get the session underway. But the intention and the will from the race director is to have a restart as soon as we can. Johnny.
Thank you。好啦，咁啊賽事咧係到而家呢個時間咧就暫時係停咗佢先啊。咁啊由於5號車嘅古圖咧喺呢個文華東方灣咧出彎嗰陣時候咧，就幾乎係指咗埋去咧佢自己左手邊賽道嘅圍欄嗰度。佢救車咧都救到㗎啦，但係咧可能車速都係太高啊，控制唔到啊，係翻出嚟之後嗰個動作咁啊。直指咧係佢嘅右手邊埋欄，跟住再反彈一下，再哼多一次埋欄，然後先至咧架車咧係揈兩下咧，然後先咧向前流咧係停低架車。咁啊，所以咧佢架車嗰個嚴重損害呢個程度係非常之高。咁啊，但係好在我哋見到咧人就冇事嘅。咁啊，翻出嚟喺呢一個咧現場嘅工作人員幫助之下咧，咁啊而家嚟講咧等緊咧佢呢部車咧係。而嚟呢個賽道，咁亦都係咧見到咧好多工作人員好努力啊嚇，咁啊喺呢一個賽道上面咧進行咧清理佢呢部車撞嗰陣時候遺留落嚟嘅油漬或者係同埋呢個水漬。咁啊由於咧佢水箱喺前面啊，咁啊見到咧個全部啲水咧就流到成地都係。咁啊有冇油漬咧就真係因為遠得滯，我哋都好難睇啊。水漬一定有㗎啦。咁啊因為前面咧仲有一份咧油冷喺度嘅，嗰份油冷咧係連住個水箱嘅。咁啊，既然水箱都爆得咧，油冷嗰部分咧都有機會係爆埋嘅。好啦，嗱，我哋賽車咧 就已經係開始咧係升上去呢一部咧係我哋嘅支援車上邊啊，呢部吊車上邊，咁啊移離開啦呢個賽道，咁啊跟住咧啲工作人員就做功夫啦，咁啊搏命咧係揼沙泥咧，係將呢一個咧係地面上嘅水漬油漬咧係嗱咧係索晒佢先，跟住再清理佢咧係埋呢一個賽道裏邊。好啦，咁啊現時嚟講咧係由於咧再次係出現呢個紅旗，咁啊第一次咧。就係1號車嘅眼高，跟住咧第2次紅旗咧就2號車嘅雲迪新特，第3次紅旗咧就5號車嘅古圖。咁啊現時嚟講剩翻落嚟3次紅旗之後，第3支紅旗咧就之後剩翻落嚟嘅係6分24秒。要等一等賽會嘅安排時間，係餘下落嚟係將會係點樣安排？咁啊稍後時間咧，再同大家講一講。喺呢一個第3支紅旗出事之前呢，我哋講一講翻佢個排序。咁啊暫時仍然係以1號車嘅晏高2分18秒163咧喺呢個頭車嘅位置。咁啊第2位咧係7號車嘅赫斯2分18秒315，第3位6號車嘅莫塔拿2分18秒336。第4位97號車嘅穆克2分18秒491，第5位2號車嘅雲迪新特2分18秒746，第6位25號車柏蘭迪時間係2分20秒167，跟住係第7嘅位置15號車阿斯提時間係2分20秒302，第8位55號車嘅歐陽若希時間係2分20秒346。第9位5號車嘅古圖時間係2分20秒584，第10位係8號車嘅方俊宇時間係2分20秒769。咁啊前10個位置咧嘅車手咧，亦都係為大家講咗佢哋所做出嚟嘅今場排位賽最快嘅時間啦。好啦，剩翻落嚟6分鐘多少少，賽會嘅安排將會係點樣呢？稍後同大家係公佈嘅。睇下
Quando faltam 6 minutos e 24 para terminar esta sessão de treinos de qualificação interrompida pela terceira vez.
So we are back in business. Keep everything crossed, don't breathe out, because we need to get through this without any more damage, and the teams will be breathing a sigh of relief at the end, I'm sure, as well. Oh, Bowden and Porsche there, working his way through the traffic to try and get himself into clear track space and go for a time. By the time they've done this out lap, there's going to be 2, maybe 3 flying laps that they can accommodate, so they're going to have to be on their toes, and the clever ones will be trying to make sure they've got as much clear track space as possible. Are we going to have any shuffling of the order? Can anybody take pole position away from Mauro Engel, who set that, remember, 2 red flags ago? So it's been an extraordinary session, but he's only done 3 laps. The lap just before he crashed, he did the fastest time of the session. Nobody has got there yet. René Rast is 0.147 of a second back. Let's see what this next restart has for us, John.
Thank you. 咁啊，啱啱算咧係賽事重開啦，咁啊剩翻落嚟咧係嗰個時間咧，賽會咧亦都係咧係公佈咧嗰個時間，我哋約莫咧，因為喺呢個第3支紅旗之前咧就剩翻係6分鐘左右嘅時間。現時嚟講咧就睇翻賽會嘅指示先得。咁啊，暫時咧喺呢一個顯示牌上面咧係未睇到咧係落嚟呢個時間嘅。咁啊，現時咧我哋見到咧就係前面嗰幾部車咧都出翻嚟啊，除咗撞咗嗰扎。咁啊，分別咧見到6號車嘅莫卡拿、7號車嘅赫斯啦，咁啊97號車嘅莫克，咁呢幾部車咧都已經係出翻晒嚟啦。咁亦都見到歐陽嘅車啦，歐陽若希55號車，咁就係喺後面咧，另外一紮波子咧，亦都係見翻全部係出翻晒嚟。咁由於咧就係前面有3部啊，喺前面10位之內有3部快車咧，都已經係暫時係退下火線啦。咁啊，現時嚟講咧，賽會嘅顯示咧係剩翻係4分零鐘嘅時間咧，係即將會係完成咗今場嘅排位賽。咁啊，雖然今場嘅排位賽咧真係1波3節，咁啊停咗3次啦。今次咧而家賽事重開咧已經係第4次啊，第4節嘅賽事嚟㗎啦。咁啊，睇睇剩翻落嚟時間真係唔多，4分鐘左右。咁啊，但係咧 會唔會咧係莫塔拿可以咧？啱啱先莫塔拿翻緊嚟我哋面前啦，咁啊經過看台咧就係莫塔拿啦，呢架6號車，好啦，咁啊要踩盡㗎啦，架車咧希望係做得一個快啲嘅時間，因為暫時莫塔拿咧現時啊喺呢一個排位嘅位置咧係排喺呢個第3位，時間係2分18秒336，同頭車相差0.168秒，同第2車7號車佢自己嘅隊友赫斯咧相差0.147秒，而赫斯咧暫時排喺呢個第2位，時間2分18秒315，同頭車呢一個晏高啊係相差0.147秒嘅，咁嘅時間嚟講咧係非常之短，咁希望咧呢兩部車出翻嚟之後咧係可以做翻個快啲嘅時間，為聽日咧呢個選拔賽咧係進行嘅排位咧嘅賽事咧，希望佢自己咧係攞到一個更有利嘅位置啊，咁啊方便聽日起步，因為我哋大家都留意得到啦，咁而家今場賽事嘅車輛咧起步咧即係都係屬於係大份㗎嚇，咁啊如果係起步嘅位置排位排得唔好嘅話咧，係直接係影響咗咧佢哋嘅賽事嘅名次嘅。好啦，現時我哋見到就係6號車嘅莫塔拿喺後面追住佢咧，就7號車嘅赫斯 David。
Thanks, Johnny. So we've got the cars back on track and only 2 minutes and 40 seconds remain. So those that get over the timing line swiftly are going to get maybe 2 flying laps, but I'm not even convinced they're going to get that now. So it's going to be just 1 lap on which they've got to deliver. And Eduardo Mortara is certainly pressing on as he goes down towards police then now, but he's building up towards his final attack. Yes, I think they're going to be lucky to get more than 1 flying lap in here, never mind 2. So Mortara on track at the moment as we've got a car slowly. Is that coming out of the pit lane? I think it is, but it's brought out the yellow flag because of its pace. Right, we're building up then to this last shot at a qualifying time. 2 minutes to go, Pedro.
2 minutos para terminar esta sessão de qualificação. Os pilotos não vão ter muito tempo, isto é uma questão quase de tudo ou nada, já que faltavam 6 minutos quando foi recuperada e nesta pista praticamente 3 minutos faltam-se só para dar a volta total ao circuito e passar na rampa da meta e começar então a ser cronometrado. Foi isso que aconteceu, como faltavam ainda praticamente 3 minutos, os pilotos da frente passaram e a segunda vez que passaram ainda não se tinha esgotado o tempo e portanto ainda são cronometrados. 2 voltas para Eduardo Mortara chegar ao primeiro lugar. O que aconteceu agora? Já está Eduardo Mortara, melhor tempo, 2:18:14. Mauro Engel tinha 2:18:16. Mortara é o piloto mais rápido destes treinos de qualificação.
Eduardo Mortara to the top of the times. Straight away he backs off to let René Rast go through, not to impede him. So Rast now is in a hurry as Stefan Mucker goes to the top of the times in the Aston Martin. Stefan Mucker does a 2:18.032. So just as Mortara goes top, now Stefan Mucker goes quicker than anybody. René Rast in the first sector, not as quick as he was earlier on. So Mucker it is by just a 10th of a second, who is now to the top of the times.
跟住好啦，咁啊現時嚟講，啱啱先見到莫塔拿做到最快嘅時間2分18秒144，轉頭即刻見到97號車嘅穆克進佔翻上嚟喺呢個第1嘅位置。穆克97號車暫時喺今場嘅排位賽事係領先喺呢個頭車嘅位置，2分18秒032啊！咁啊頭先見到咧莫塔拿咧完成咗2分18秒144都好開心啦。咁啊過咗呢個水塘灣咧都開始係收油，俾翻佢哋嘅拍檔7號車赫斯過。咁啊希望阿赫斯咧喺前面係做一個更快嘅時間，但係諗唔到啊嚟緊喺後面嘅97號車穆克咧做出更快嘅時間，2分18秒032啊，進佔喺呢個頭車嘅位置。排位賽現時嘅成績排名咧，暫時係97號車嘅穆克、6號車嘅莫塔拿、1號車嘅晏高同埋7號車嘅赫斯。
René Rast has backed out of the lap. He's let Kevin Estre go by. So René Rast down at police at the moment is not going to get another chance because the checkered flag is out. What about Albamba? He's done a personal best in the first sector. Richard Lyons has also done a personal best. And then number 25, hustling on, is Alvaro Parent as he makes his way now towards Donna Maria. He'll plunge downhill in a moment, coming out of that section of the circuit, but Alvaro Parent heads now downhill towards the Melco hairpin. Stefan Mucker it is then, who has gone quicker again in the first sector. Number 98, which is Philip Marr, under investigation for impeding another car. So number 98, Philip Marr, under investigation for getting in the way of somebody on a quick lap. The stewards will have a look at that and see if any penalty needs applying, as you've got now Mucker heading up towards the end of his flying lap. He's in the middle sector and it's not that sparkling. Mortara has gone up towards the end of the lap as well, but he's not over the timing line just yet. What about René Rast? He's in the middle sector but I think 1 or 2 are backed off here, perhaps realising that it's not going to happen, but they can't get another lap out of it because the checkered flag is out now. Over the line goes Muka, and Stefan Muka's lap is a 2:18.7. He wasn't far away from his earlier best. Mortara pits, Rast pits, and Bamba goes through, and he ends up 7th. But Stefan Muka, it is, as Kevin Estra heads for the pit lane, it is Stefan Muka then who ends the session as the fastest, 2 minutes 18.032 ahead of Mortara, then Engel, then Rast, Van der Zande and Young. And amazing to think that Engel and Van der Zande, both responsible for red flags, end up 3rd and 5th on the grid for the qualification race tomorrow. I'll go through all the times in a moment. First, let's just catch up on what happened at the very end in Portuguese. Pedro.
Thank you. E na última volta, exatamente naquele tudo ou nada, Eduardo Mortara chegou a fazer 2:18.14 e a bater Mauro Engel, para logo de seguida Stefan Muka no Aston Martin vantagem fazer 2:18.03, portanto apenas 11 centésimos de segundo a menos do que Eduardo Mortara, e apoderar-se do tempo mais rápido do primeiro lugar desta sessão de treinos de qualificação que dita a grelha de partida para a corrida de classificação, que é amanhã, e depois dessa corrida sairá então a ordem para a corrida do domingo. Stefan Muka e Eduardo Mortara são os dois melhores tempos, o 2:18.03, 2:18.14. Mauro Engel em Mercedes 2:18.16, René Rast em Audi 2:18.31, Van der Zande no outro Mercedes 2:18.74, Daryl Young em Aston Martin 2:19.42, depois Richard Lyons Aston Martin 2:19.63 e Earl Bamber em Porsche 997 GT3 em 2:19.68, Adderley Font em Bentley Continental 2:19.97 e Álvaro Parente a fechar o top 10 no McLaren 650S GT3 2:20.04. De recordar que a sessão de treinos de qualificação esteve interrompida por 3 vezes, primeiro com o despiste de Mauro Engel, depois com o despiste de Van der Zande e finalmente com o despiste bastante violento de André Couto no McLaren 650S GT3. André Couto baixou entretanto para o 12º lugar, porque também não teve oportunidade, obviamente acabou mais cedo de melhorar o seu tempo. E é esta a ordem para a corrida de classificação de amanhã.
好啦，咁啊，今場嘅排位賽 GT 杯嘅排位賽咧，咁亦都係咧已經係完成咗啦。咁啊，等賽會嘅安排將會係下一場嘅賽事係幾時進行呢？一間同大家講，下一場嘅賽事將會係太陽城集團澳門格蘭披治3級方程式大賽國際汽聯3級方程式洲際杯嘅排位賽賽事。咁啊，同大家就講一講翻啱啱算呢一場 GT 杯嘅賽事咧，個結果先嚇。咁啊，暫時今日嘅排位賽咧係最好成績咧就係97號車嘅穆克，咁時間2分18秒032喺呢個頭車嘅位置。第2位咧係6號車嘅莫塔拿2分18秒144，第3位1號車嘅晏高2分18秒163，第4位7號車嘅赫斯2分18秒315，第5位2號車嘅雲迪辛特2分18秒746，第6位55號車嘅歐陽若曦2分19秒427，第7位99號車嘅理查萊昂斯啊，咁啊嚟自咧英國嘅車手啊，咁啊呢一位車手咧，佢做到嘅時間好快喎，突然之間咧喺後面係飆咗上嚟嘅，2分19秒637排喺呢個第7嘅位置，第8位19號車嘅班博2分19秒687，第9位係8號車嘅方俊宇2分19秒972，第10位係25號車嘅柏蘭迪，時間係2分20秒048，咁啊頭10個位置咧同大家講咗啦，咁啊聽日咧佢哋喺選拔賽嘅排位咧將會係呢一個97號車嘅穆克同埋6號車嘅莫塔拿喺呢個頭車嘅位置，第2排咧將會係晏高同埋赫斯，咁啊第3排嘅位置咧就係2號車嘅雲迪辛特同埋55號車嘅歐陽若曦。David。